Okay, I'm already recording. Lots to talk about before we start today. So, hello, Grin. Maude is in bed with children for this Christmas Eve. She keeps downstairs after Christmas. I know. Would you like to be Maude and Tuppence, or would you like to be Maude, or would you like to be Tuppence and Father Christmas?
I'll go for Maude.
And action.
I'm just too excited, and it's only 3 a.m. I'm gonna sneak downstairs and have a little look.
Squeak, squeak.
You can come as well,
Squeak,
Tubbs.
squeak.
Let's go. I've got to be quiet so we don't wake up Ma and
Squeak,
Pa.
squeak, squeak.
Quieter.
Squeak,
I'm gonna throw you down the stairs, Tuppence. Hopefully you will land on that cushion.
squeak. Bump, bump, bump. Squeak,
Well, you landed on the cushion at least.
squeak.
Just after several. How's your back? Oh, you can't reply. Look at the tree, isn't it nice? Tuppence. Look at all those gifts.
I better be careful putting these presents under this tree. I know these are light sleepers in this house.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Oh, dear me, little girl. You should be in bed.
Well, I woke up. Who are you and why are you in my house?
I'm Santa Claus. I'm sent here by the baby Jesus to give presents to all the good girls and all the good boys. Have you been a good girl?
Yes, I believe so. Who are you again?
My name is S. Claus, aka St. Nicholas. My job is to come here from the North Pole to give presents to good boys and good girls. Have you been a good girl?
Never heard of you. I'm afraid you're going to have to go.
But I have some unflavored ice milk for you and some cottage cheese cucumber nachos.
Leave them on the side and we'll talk.
Okay.
You sit in that chair.
Okay, I've got to go now. Bye.
Where are you going?
Going next door.
Oh, don't bother. They're heathens.
Maude! It's a Maude Christmas good cast. Miracle on Evergreen Terrace. Ooh, Maude likes taking photos of the pony and unicycle riders. She's letting the bluebirds go in a fancy purple winter coat. It's a Maudey Roddy Toddy Christmas. And there's a second tape, the Maudecast Christmas, a very Maude Christmas, #1, aka episode 29, aka episode 27, possibly 24 or 26. It's not clear yet.
No, it's in there. It's towards the end of season 3. It's Christmas.
It's Christmas outside. The snow is falling. And unfortunately, we are sitting on the streets next to the embers of the Maude Flanders Internet Museum and Database. But let's not let that get us down. Hello, good Christmas opening and baby G's clum. It's the Maude Flanders cast. Abstain from supping a few turkeys, cousin. How's Lord Zaz this morning, this fine Christmas Eve morning?
I'm good. I'm excited for the big day. I'm going to drink lots of nog.
I'm going to nog everything. I
Yes.
nogged the sidewalk. I nogged the chewing gum. I even nogged my grandpa.
Exactly. Noghead.
I am fucking effing noghead. Special Christmas sponsors: El Cagagna, the pooper, a peasant wearing the traditional Catalan red cap with his trousers down, showing a bare backside and defecating at the nativity. The Tio de Nadal sponsor: Log's gotta eat too. Shit, log, shit, nougats, hazelnuts, and matto cheese. If you don't shit well, I'll hit you with a stick. Shit, log. Sponsor: Befana the Witch. I'm not too busy anymore for to see the baby Jesus. Let me in. Sponsor: Mary Lude. The singing skeletal horse is challenging you to a rhyming competition.
Fantastic. They were some once in a lifetime exclusive sponsors.
Maybe they'll come back next Christmas, but the thing is that basically the Europeans and the Welsh have found ways beyond Krampus that we know about to mash up the pagan festival of Yuletide and Christmas, and not least of all El Cagagna, the pooper, who's the shitting man who's next to the nativity in the Spanish nativity.
I see.
Real. And then the Tio de Nadal, which is a log that you beat with a stick and he shits out presents.
Nice. I think the log lady would be happy with him.
Quote from Father Christmas.
Here we are again, bless me. I believe I've said that before. know, but after all, you don't want Christmas to be different every year, do you?
He's right. Christmas is supposed to be the same feeling, especially if you can replicate childhood. Maude would put a lot of effort into Christmas because of Jesus and the family connection. So I think she's big on Christmas. And lest we forget, the first time we see Ned and Todd is a Christmas episode.
That's correct. Well, that's beautiful. Oh, it's so blooming cold out here. Sat outside the bins next to Netto were the ashes and embers of the MFIDBAMDM burnt to the very ground from a toaster burst tithing pool incident.
We were warm for a while because of all the chaos and the fire, but now it's sort of gone out and we're just sat here all charcoaly.
With only this egg what we found in the burnt out embers, where shall we sleep tonight?
I don't know, but I saw a broken calculator in those flames, and that struck me as suspicious. There's a travel lodge where the police station used to be.
There is, but what with us having no cash and out, it's going to be tricky. Let's set out and walk down this street.
Yes.
Oh, I know what we can do. Why don't we ask Stamp if he will let us have a roof for the night where we can store ourselves and our egg?
Given our turbulent relationship with him, I can't see why that would be an issue.
Why don't you knock on the door, given that my hands are full with this egg?
Knock.
What do you want?
Stamp, did you steal my deer?
It's none of your bloody business, Nathan.
Well,
Watchdog.
Well, it's beside the point anyway. The Maude Flanders stuff all burned down.
Good.
Can we... Did you say good?
Yeah, I did say good. Ha, good. I'm
Fair enough.
I'm glad your house is burnt down.
Well, is there any... I can sort of see where this is going, but is there any chance we could stay here tonight?
No, F off. Well, take your stupid brother and your stinking ass and that effing egg you've got, and F off. I've got a rave to get back to, a Twitch rave to get back to. Oh no! Stamp! Slam! Oh, well, let's keep going and let's see if we can sneak in and sleep in the bins up Travel Lodge then.
Okay. I'm quite sad.
Oh, I'm sad too. Where shall we sleep? Our egg will hatch tonight, I am sure of it.
These bins are full.
He will be born with no abode. Hey, you boys! Boys, what are you doing standing on the street out here? You're going for a catch a bloody death, of course.
Is that Statman John?
Of course it's blooming Statman John. Who else represents the Maude and Dutch was Dutch round here?
Oh, yeah.
This time of night, don't even tell me what time it is.
Well, we've been kicked out of our house by fire, we asked Stamp could we stay there, but he.
I had no do with it. I'm telling you.
Well, we know. Well, thanks. Doesn't help us now, though, does it?
Don't be pointing fingers. If you're pointing fingers, don't point them at me.
No, we think it was Stamp mostly.
I'm saying nothing.
Well, can you help?
Well, you know what? If you could sleep in, I live in Stamp's attic. I mean, we're billionaires now, so we'll probably get a new house. But if you want for sleep in his shed, that's all right. It's just full of broken bread machines and homemade weapons and some old broken keyboards what Stamp will smash up when he's proper angry at Twitch.
I see. Do you not think he'll notice?
Oh, he's mashed. His head's mashed all the time now. Since we got a Twitch billionaire, we're all mashed all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll sneak in now while he's in there with his pants off.
Come on then. Come on, Nathan. Let's go and sleep in there. Thanks, Starman. Oh, don't even mention it. No, really, don't mention it.
Okay, we won't. Thanks. We're gonna go and warm this Christmas egg.
Click. Oh, this place it's tiny and it's full of rubbish. But I think the shed is nice. Come on, wrap the egg in your coat.
It smells like wasabi and copper.
While we're here, is it time for, now we're settled in the shed, is it now time for some content?
Sure.
All right, so you want to give these lovely people some context for the content in today's episode?
Certainly. It's Christmas at the Maude shed. We're not looking at all of the Christmas stuff, obviously. We're just going to look at three little clips that give us a slice of Maude at Christmas. That's all I'm willing to say.
Right, on to first episode. So I think we managed to skirt the issue. So some of these go past where we're currently at. In fact, all of them do. But I think the elephant in the room of our main character, our protagonist, dying. We skirted it? No one will know. No spoilers. Season 9, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace, clip 1. The Simpsons are all wrapped up in winter outfits and they're outside the Flanders' house. And as they pass the Flanders' window, we see Maude. Looks like she's taking photographs of the rest of the family, maybe. Ned's on a unicycle. Rod and Todd are on a pony. By the looks of it, a real pony in the middle of the living room. The Simpsons stop to take a look in. There's some simple Christmas decorations in the Flanders house. There's not very many decorations other than the tree. The Flanders turn and wave. Maude almost robotically just turns and waves, like very mechanically out of the window. Smile and wave. Don't let them know anything's going on. Marge says it looks like the Flanders are having a nice Christmas, and this angers Homer. Oh yeah, we'll show him, says Homer. Come on, kids, pretend we got some new cross-country skis. And the Simpsons all buy into this, no question. They all pretend to fake ski in front of the Flanders window. The Flanders are now gathered around the window looking out, and there's jingle bells playing delightfully in the warm house. The Simpsons go past them, and a sideways view of Maude looking far less impressed. With a somewhat neutral face, don't think she fell for it. Where did the pony go?
It's a good question. I don't think I've written surely it's fake because, well, yeah, surely it's fake. Either that or they ate it later in the day, because they never have this pony again. And I don't think they don't have the time or patience for a pony.
He kicks its leg and moves its head around, so it's either quite a faithful robotic version or it's a real
That's
pony.
interesting. I missed that part. I looked at the end to see if it blinked, and it didn't blink in the little bit that I checked. The point here is that the Simpsons think that they've had all the presents stolen, and it's like Christmas morning, so they went out for a walk. I don't think they want to let on that Christmas is ruined, so that's why they do the fake skis. And I think that's why Marge buys into it so easily. But Maude looks really pitiful at the end is the thing. She sees right through the fake skiing, and she's obviously looking at them with some kind of pity. But she probably just thinks that she probably thinks it was their fault somehow, even though it wasn't. It was only Bart's fault.
Yeah, I think if she found out that they'd lost all the presents, Homer's sold them or gambled them all away, has he? Something's gone on, right?
Bart went downstairs to look at them, and there was like chaos, and he set fire into the tree and melted it and all the presents.
Melted all the presents? Melted all the presents?
Yes, he melted all of them.
It's weird, isn't it? Were they all a series of wax effigies?
Yes, they may be a lot of plastic tat, I imagine. Maude would blame Homer and Marge, but in this case, it was actually Bart Simpson.
Yeah, one would think that had this not resolved itself, as Maude does in later episodes, she would let them, she would obviously judge them. I think then after that, she would invite them in and give them a nice Flanders Christmas meal.
Yes, and there is more to this episode, but we will come back to it at a different time. This is sort of unrelated to the rest of the episode.
Interesting.
So you do get to see Maude's response to finding out, but not for another year.
Ooh la la.
I would also like to note that Ned was on a unicycle, and Maude seems to be taking a photograph of the tree with what I imagine is a new camera.
Ah, is that what it is? You think Maude got a camera for Christmas? That makes sense, because Ned got the unicycle. The boys are on the pony. They got half a pony each, and Maude gets a camera. Now we know that she's got an interest in sketching, and we know she likes making wind chimes, but maybe photography is a secret hobby that we might come back to.
Yes, or it could also be for the purpose of she could take pictures to then sketch.
Could do.
I imagine that was probably the link as to why she got a camera, because again, they're not very material people most of the time, so it seems to only come out at Christmas. Maybe they go wild at Christmas, because again, the first episode, Homer and Bart are looking at how much Ned and Todd have bought for Christmas, and then we're back here. We're back to the Simpsons Flanders comparison, aren't we? How much better of a time Homer thinks they're having, despite the fact that Flanders comes out of the overall show much worse.
Do you think Maude enjoys Christmas?
Yeah, I think she loves it. I think it's a nice time for her because it combines three things that she likes, which are Jesus, Christ, family time, nice family memories, and nice gift. Not lots of gifts, but, one nice gift. Maybe Maude eats ice cream in front of people on Christmas Day.
That would be pushing the boat out. Do you think she even takes a little sip of eggnog?
It's possible, but probably altered in some way.
A virgin
synthetic.
Synthetic.
Yeah, like synthetic eggs.
Synthetic.
And
she's not vegan though. She had no problem with eating eggs, surely.
No, she isn't. She's a full meat eater. So maybe it's beef nog.
Pork and beef nog.
Yeah. I also wrote that the wave was pleasant and well-meaning. Like, it was there was nothing in that. Usually you see a bit of subtext with Maude, but that was just a pleasant moment, I think. A nice Christmas. Like when they kick the ball around, like what I mentioned the other week in World War One.
Oh yeah, that story.
So this is that for these families.
Good too. So this is obviously in season 18 made a Christmas version of the opening. I don't know if they used it every year, but it definitely appears in season 18, Kill Gil. It's a remake of the original opening, but with some Christmassy, wintry differences. We see Wiggum wrapped up warm. We see Otto with the school bus with its hood or bonnet flipped. We see the little super pale kid. Is it Lewis? We see
Wendell.
It's Wendell. Okay. We see the Hibberts, and we see Maude in a beautiful full-length pink and mauve purpley winter coat, catching or releasing a bluebird. And then backing up what I said a few episodes ago, there is no Rod, it's just Todd. And Todd is handing the other bird, he's getting the other bird from Ned in their snowy Evergreen Terrace garden.
Yes, a very, very brief clip back in credits territory. This is a weird one because, did they completely reanimate this opening, or did they just sort of add a filter to it? It seems like they reanimated the whole thing because it looks more recent, but I didn't know if the reason she was in there is because they maybe just changed the clothing and stuff, like drew over it, because Bleeding Gums Murphy's also in there somewhere, and both of them have been dead for years.
Well, Maude had been dead for like 7 seasons by the time this one came out, and she was in the wilderness years at this point as well, where they weren't even acknowledging her existence.
Yeah, from what I can tell, this is her only season 18 appearance.
Well, I guess the question is, did we see this in other seasons around? Like, did they use it in season 19? And because 20 was the new opening, right?
Yeah, no, this seems to be the only time they used it.
And did.
But there isn't a Christmas episode every year. There's only, this is only the 3rd Christmas episode in 9 years. The first clip we looked at, The Miracle in Evergreen Terrace, that was the 3rd Christmas episode. We already looked at one recently. We looked at the Photo Centre episode, was a Christmas one. So there's only been the opening episode, the Lee Carvalho, and then the one we just looked at. So they're not that frequent. So there probably wasn't another Christmas episode for 3 or 4 years.
Maybe. And did we ever see Maude rocking that beautiful winter coat out and about in Springfield?
I don't believe so. We do see her in snowy conditions at one point, and she is wrapped up, but it's not this outfit. It's a bit more sort of, it's good because it doesn't look like her usual clothes. It's very fits into the Maude aesthetic, but it's not as simple as this where they've just sort of kept the colour in and made it look warmer. I've written that she has a mauve face.
She has a mauve face. I don't think you can see her face, can you?
Yeah, it's like the 3/4 thing.
Oh.
So her mauve face is peeping out, but it's not duck face, it's more sort of curved on the top of her mouth. So she looks somewhat like Mo, which is again ironic given our recent conversation or future conversation.
Well, is it? As she got older, did her true genetic makeup come out? Is there a Sizzle-like gene pool in there?
Maybe. I hope not, because that adds a much darker level to the whole thing.
Did Mo go back in time and impregnate Maude's mother?
Much like Futurama.
Is that what happened?
I think Fry's his own grandfather.
Okay.
The bird seems to be flying towards her this time, as opposed to away. So is that a sign that the angelic realm is welcoming her in, as opposed to last time when she was trying to shoo it away?
The only real explanation that she is currently deep in the angelic realm. In the season 20 post High Death, they have woodpeckers, right? The boys and Ned, which is part of the canon, I believe. But they get rid of Maude and replace the bluebirds with woodpeckers, which I think is really a good metaphor for the downward spiral of the show. Yeah,
Todd at some point does own a woodpecker, but only for one episode, and it's before this, so maybe that's why. Short Christmas clip. Again, she's not all over Christmas. Her appearances are fleeting. It's not like Halloween where we've got a lot of content to get through, but she's substantial enough.
You would expect Maude to be a pretty Christmassy character, what with it being one of the few Christians on the show. You'd expect Ned, Maude, and the Lovejoys to be basically be prominent at Christmas time, but From your understanding, it's not the case.
No, well, Ned seems to be all over Christmas.
Okay.
Ned has a much more prompt, but again, he's it's mostly after Maud's dead.
One can only hope that in the future, when they bring Maude back, there'll be more Christmas. They'll see a missed opportunity. It's clip 3. This is Todd, why have you forsaken me? Sadly, the boys and Ned seem to be sat on the sofa. They look quite glum. They're watching a videotape, and the tape's title is Have a Maudey, Roddy, and Toddy Christmas. There's a second tape and a Neddy New Year. Cut to the screen itself, the videotape itself, where we see Ned outside the fireplace hanging up 3 stockings, one saying baby Jesus, one saying teenage Jesus, and one saying Mr. Jesus. I noticed that as the Simpsons animation, this isn't like really much later. Is this season 30 or something like that?
This is 31, so this was like last year.
So this was like, 12 months ago. And the Simpsons animation has become much more detailed. And so those paintings on the wall that we've been looking at that were basically splodges of color now are quite detailed. We've got a valley. And I question where those came from, or have they always been there? We've just got a much more high-res view of them. So we got to the video, and Rod and Todd are in the video. They're considerably younger and smaller. So this seems to predate the Simpsons era that we are currently in, which is weird because it also Maude's also been dead, spoiler alert, for a long time, but they're still in that same era. But this is about 3 or 4 years before current era, but also before she died.
Yeah, I've written down that this is both our most recent Maude, like to date, in our timeline, but in their timeline, it's probably about 5 years before all of the content we've already looked at.
Exactly. It's not the oldest Maude, but it is considerably older than most of the Maudes we've talked about. So Rod and Todd are in the video. They're considerably small, and they're wearing these neat little Christmas jumper things. They're decorating the tree. Maude is smiling. She picks up little tiny Todd, and he says, I'm scared. He's holding the star for the tree. Maude looks in his eyes and says, I have faith in you, in a kind and gentle voice. And Ned is smiling and looking on. Maude gently holds up Todd as he puts the star on top of the tree. Ned and Rod clap. Maude smiles, a very kind and wide smile. She holds little tiny Todd in her arms like a small child.
Nice. Yeah, I've written a couple of things. They have no stockings for themselves, which is very Flandersy. They have stockings for Jesus. The house, did you notice the house? At first I thought, when I rewatched this the other day, I thought, is this like a pre-Evergreen Terrace house? It looks really different. And even with Grandpa and Homer coming in, spoiler, I still thought it doesn't necessarily mean, the next door. Like Grandpa could have wandered off. But you can see the Simpsons house in the background through the window. So it is definitely their house, but it looks like they don't have an upstairs. Because that room where they are, with the front door, there's usually a hallway and a staircase. And then it leads into the sort of, one side is sort of like the living room where they sat watching the video, isn't it now? And the other side is sort of that dining room, I think.
It's very big and open, yeah. It's a very big open room, unlike their living room is normally quite small.
So this would also explain why they might have a bedroom downstairs like we've seen before, because maybe they used to have a bungalow and at some point they expanded on that. I've also written that Tiny Rod and Todd seem to be the cutest ever.
They're very cute. Tiny Todd is cute. Tiny Rod, 2 years less space cute.
Yeah, but, and the sort of last thing about that part is that she doesn't really sound like Maude here. She sounds very, like the accent sort of there. It's not that you can still hear the Fargo-ishness in her voice, but she sounds much, much calmer and much less shrill.
Yeah, and I read into that not only is it a very calm time and maybe a younger and calmer Maude, but also, are we seeing the video as it is, or are we seeing it through the slightly unreliable narrator eyes of one of the Flanders?
I believe that this is just the video as is, because there would have been a way they could have framed it as a memory if they wanted to do it that way.
That's true.
I would say this is accurate.
So whenever you look at it, she's looking very kind. She's looking very calm.
So she doesn't look younger though. Rod and Todd look considerably younger, but Maude and Ned, they haven't done anything like Homer. Sometimes, like the easiest thing with Homer and Marge, actually. As Homer gets her and Marge's hair becomes smaller the younger she gets, but with Ned and Maude, there isn't sort of any signifiers that this is earlier. Like, they're dressed and they look exactly the same.
Yeah, and that makes sense that it's not that long before, but it's at least a few years before. But if we see the flashbacks, the spoiler, we will see at some point, but we haven't seen yet. We do see a younger Maude with slightly bigger hair, and but to be honest, a young Maude, she doesn't seem to have changed that much over the years.
No, she's happy with what she's working with.
Exactly. She's working with gold. Why would she cover that gold in curtains?
Exactly. You can't polish a Maude.
As our grandparents used to say. Just then, Grandpa Abe Simpson bursts in through the door. Maude is taken aback. She scowls at Grandpa. Quick change of facial expression. Maude does not move. Her eyes are fixed on Grandpa. Grandpa says, "Who are you people and what have you done with my family? Answer me." Cut back to a glum-looking Rod and Todd on the couch with Neddy. And back to the video. Homer comes in laughing. Maude has still not moved a muscle. She hasn't blinked. She has not moved. She is glaring with eyes of fire at Abraham Simpson. She's holding Todd like a little tiny baby. "Oh, Dad, every time we make you shovel the driveway, you end up somewhere crazy," says Homer. "The tree is well decorated, but there are no other decorations in the room. There's even fewer than there were in the clip we saw earlier that only had like one other decoration." Maude turns and with a smile flips. In an instant, she's smiling again. Genuine smile by the looks of it. "Won't you join us for dinner?" she says to Grandpa with a hopeful look. Homer says, "Sure he will. I'll pick him up tomorrow," and then steams out of the door. Maude turns and she begins to head in the direction of the camera, and the video pauses on Maude's face.
Lovely. She isn't clear whether she's inviting Grandpa and Homer, but we can just get the impression from this that she's asking just Grandpa. She obviously knows that it's Homer's dad because he's just said that. So she knows, she has a vague idea of what's going on here. So is she asking him to come in out of pity? Or is it sort of, my other thought was maybe it's like intrigue as to, maybe she thought she could learn some more about Homer and Marge. Maybe she thought this would maybe give her an insight into her neighbours and how to deal with them a bit better. Or maybe she thought, you know, if we can get in with Grandpa, then again it could be another sly way to irritate Homer in a way. Imagine if Grandpa became really close to Ned and Maude and visited Ned and Maude for dinner, but not Homer and Marge.
That would have been cool. That would have been a cool subplot if Grandpa had fallen for the Flanders and spent way more time there. I could see that working in a live-action sitcom. I can see them doing that.
A Grandpa Flanders story seems like quite a good idea. To be honest, anytime they do a Flanders and a different character that isn't one of the family, it's sort of quite nice. I know they've done like a Flanders Nelson story, and I liked all the Flanders Edna stuff for the most part, other than the disregard of continuity. I enjoy. So Ned does work well with other characters because of his sort of his sort of willingness to roll with things and accept them for who they are, unless it's against Jesus' will.
You know what it strikes me as? So, like, Ned's this very gentle kind of character, and a Maude and Ned kind of spin-off or just episodes would generally be quite gentle. You know, it reminds me of Oliver Postgate, who did in the 70s, he did Bagpuss, Ivor the Engine, Noggin the Nog. They were these very gentle animated stories where often really very little happened.
Yeah, and we've speculated that Maude liked Bagpuss before, I think, so it's right up her alley. And I do think there's something in the idea of like an anti-Family Guy or an anti-South Park at this point, where the humour would come from the fact that it's so bland and nice. Like, they do that sort of end credits thing quite early on that Maude isn't in, that Adventures of Ned Flanders. It's just that sort of little song, Geisel of Ganders, everybody else loves Ned Flanders. And then it's just basically him going into Rod and Todd's room and saying, "You need to get ready for church." And then they say, "We're not going to church today." And he gasps and he says, "Give me one good reason why." And they say it's Saturday. And then that's it. That's the end. So,
yeah, that gentle humor, there's definitely a place for it, but it's hard to put it in a show where just Homer is so loud and obnoxious.
If a Flanders spin-off could work on the premise of the four... Well, Ned's not exactly a straight man because he's sort of got more of the wackiness. Maude would definitely be the straight man of the situation, but the comedy would come from the external forces. Like, let's picture it's a Springfield where they move to, let's say they move to the other side of town. Let's do like a Cleveland show thing where Ned packs his bags and him and the family move to, like, maybe they go back to wherever Ned was born, or they go back to Springfield Township, and you would meet a couple of, like, new wacky neighbours with like a gimmick, and they would bring the comedy, and Maude would be the sort of anchor of, like, your character anchor, who's like is sort of more human and emotional. I could see that working for a season or two, and then just bring them back to Springfield.
I'm sold.
When it all falls apart.
Don't stop pitching.
The note I actually made about this clip, she's like, when she picks Todd up and holds him at the top of the tree, that looked very like instinctive and maternal. Like, Todd hadn't realised he was struggling before Maude had already picked him up. She was already on it. But then when Grandpa comes in and she looks shocked, she doesn't. The natural thing would to be like to shield Todd, but she turns and basically presents him to the problem.
Maybe she knows that it's not a real. She knows it's not a real threat. She's quick to ascertain that this isn't a real threat. This is just, she's angry, and she's Todd to see and get a good, clear view of this nuisance that's right in front of her.
Also, Ned says nothing about this old man breaking into his house on, we're going to say this isn't Christmas Day, because obviously they're decorating the tree, so this has got to be, I'm assuming, 12 days before Christmas, if they're going for the whole Jesus thing.
Is that how it works? So that's Yuletide 12 days before, but the Victorians traditionally would decorate the tree on Christmas Eve, I believe.
Oh, I see.
Which would mean that Homer is letting Grandpa stay over on Christmas Eve and picking him up sometime in Christmas Day.
And again, that's if he stays to his word, which he most likely didn't. Grandpa could have been there for 3.5 years, for all we know.
Exactly. 3.5 years, the Flander.
And my last note about this is Todd looks very happy in the last second. Obviously, this is like the Todd episode where it's good. The whole sort of premise is that Todd is starting to forget what Maude looked like, which sort of implies that she has been dead for 20 years, but they've not aged, because Todd's dream, he can't remember what Maude's face looked like, whereas it can't have been more than like 8 or 9 months within the reality, given on how they look. So that's why they dig the videos out, and yeah, she's all over this episode, so it's good that we throw this in here, because I think that episode will take us about 3 episodes to cover.
And I, for one, am ready for that. Raring to go.
In about 2023.
Well, there ain't no rush. There's enough
not
for everyone, and if you're listening to this now in real time, then you're at the business end of probably a week full of Maude, maybe 3 or 4 episodes this week. So one can only hope that you are enjoying this Yuletide gift from the Maude Casting Corporation, aka the Ron Dibney's multiple magical eels. That's the content for this week.
So certainly is.
And we're still here, sadly, in Stump's shed with our golden egg.
So the Hobo Robo is fishing for tin cans in the Dougie.
Dave, I will / have rescued you from the fire and lost my knapsack in the process, full of pies and shit.
Bleep, bleep, bleep.
Have you found anything useful in the river?
Bleep, 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 bleep. I believe I can speak for him. He found some cans and shit.
Oh, good. Look up into the sky. That star looks like that place I woke up after being hit with a keyboard.
I believe that the star looks like it's in the shape of a shed.
Yes, a familiar shed.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
Let us go. Bring those cans and shit.
I believe it's got an address written on the star if I look with these tiny binoculars.
Good. I also feel like I know where it was, because I was briefly held prisoner there.
It says Stamp's house.
Yes, but I'll put it into my internal GPS. Beep, boop, let's go.
Beep, beep, beep.
And at that point, we cut onto the hills.
Quick wiggle that cat over here. Mr. Todd Rodman has trapped one of the rats.
I go for a trap. All them rats. Oh, they'll fill my tasty belly.
Give me that cat head on a stick. I bet I can lure some over.
I don't want to give you it. I want this rat for myself.
I'm starving as well, though, and it's Christmas. Don't be tight.
I'm not tight. I've just got a little animate belly. What's for me full with rat guts?
I've not even got a mouth.
I'll inhale it through me paws.
I see, like osmosis. I've just got a text.
You got a bloody text. You know what? I'm effing freezing.
It is cold, isn't it?
Is it that cold? Come on, Rod, or Todd, whoever which one you are, get us in a bloody house before me fucking fix.
Got a text from exactly. Got a text from those watchdogs saying they're in a warm shed and they've got an egg. So let's go there. But,
scavenge.
bring the rats.
Oh no, we're shepherds. We don't bring out.
Bring the rats. I want to feast.
Cut back to the shed.
Oh, well, it's warm in here. I got a feeling that egg's going to hatch. I wonder what's inside it. Would you like to speculate what's inside there, Nathan?
Meat.
Some sweet meat.
Or-
Some sweet, a Scotch egg in the shape of Maude Flanders.
Yes. Or something we've never seen before
Something
as a race.
something
As a
what,
species.
something will shock our eyes to its core. But
Exactly.
would you like to speculate on Maude's best youthful Christmas in the Goodman household?
Yeah, I think she was probably around 10 or 11 and she got everything on her Christmas list that she'd asked for. But she was a simple child, so it was pretty much just like pens and paper and maybe one stuffed animal and maybe a nice little pair of shoes.
Some plain paper, some
Yeah.
2H pencils, and a nondescript teddy bear.
Exactly.
What do you think called the nondescript teddy bear?
Festa,
Like as in festive or as in Uncle Festive from the Addams Family?
both, but predominantly the second one.
Was she a fan of the Addams Family?
No, I think it was a coincidence.
Okay. What did she get for other people? Because obviously, as a good Christian girl, she would know that Christmas ain't about getting, it's about giving kindness
Well,
or commercial presents.
Yeah, well, if she was a kid, I imagine she would just make things for people. Like I can see her maybe baking some cookies for everybody with the help of Marilyn. Or, you know, maybe we know she isn't making wind chimes at that age, so maybe she's just making something a bit simpler for now. Like maybe just little crucifixes or something, or little wreaths. Wreaths would be easy.
She'd probably make a Christmas wreath, a nice fancy little Christmas wreath, maybe made from clippings from a newspaper, local newspaper.
Possibly an Ann Landers wreath.
Think she was a fan of Landers back then?
Nah, I think it was all about Bagpuss and what was that other one you said?
Ivor the Engine and Noggin the Nog.
That was it, Noggin the Nog.
Well, why she wouldn't get those though in Springfield Township, North Dakota? Surely she wouldn't.
I like to think that she's got maybe a great aunt or uncle in England who sends her like tapes, like Button Moon.
What do you think her strongest recollection of that day with the family might have been in that best Christmas ever?
I like to think like a full table of people she actually liked.
Ooh.
Everybody getting along. Even Laurie was on her best behaviour because she got a stretch Armstrong. Everybody was happy.
Inside joke for you Maudecasters out there. So who's at that table? We've got Garrett, we got Bona, we've got Laurie, young Maude, Frank, Marilyn. Any of the older relatives there?
Yeah, I think this year maybe everybody came to maybe they move around every year like the Flanders barbecue, and this year it was at Maude's house, or like the Goodman house. So everybody came to her, but I still think it wouldn't be over the top. Like I don't think Magdalena is willing to travel, so maybe it was her dad's parents. And
that's Frank Senior and Susan, I believe.
Yes, and Eliza.
Aunt Eliza. She wouldn't be that much older than maybe Laurie at that point.
True.
Let's wrap that up now, and have you got a page from Maude's Christmas diary for us?
I do, but I have two questions for her.
Okie dokie.
The first question was, just as a Christmas gift, we should decide what our favourite clip we've looked at so far was.
And I do have one. Would you like me to go first, or would you like you to go first?
You can go first. Would you like me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
My favourite one we've looked at is the Aerosmith one because I didn't know about it, and it was the sort of most surprising one I think that we've looked at so far for me. But I said that her best appearance so far has to be the peephole, just wash your hands and get out.
Why is that?
It's funny and it's a good reference, and you see her like really close up. She sort of holds the camera's attention for like 10 to 15 seconds, which is unlike her.
Pretty weird, right? It's a weird one. I think maybe I keep wanting to go back to the family feedback, but that's not really her, right? That's because I really like what Mo's doing in there. So I think I'm going to go back to the other film reference of It's a Wonderful Life, where they are at the end when they save the leftorium and they're all happily together, and then you get that weird close-up on her face that's like a shot-for-shot remake of the end of It's a Wonderful Life. I like that one again because it's Maude focused and she's doing something weird and it's nice weird, but I can't argue. I do like the bunker one where she sends Ned to his death.
Yes, that is good, important points. My other jaunty question is, in terms of characters similar to Maude, or like in the same kind of recurring setting, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, how many characters do you think have died since Maude?
As in properly died in The Simpsons, like they've been acknowledged that they've died.
Yeah, like a Maude situation, but maybe not the same means of death. But
Edna died, right?
Yes.
And I think they just retired the Phil Hartman characters.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm guessing there's been a couple. Mole Man would die regularly. Did Dr. Nick die at one point as well, and he came back?
There's a couple. I've not counted those ones.
I'm going to throw my hat in at it being more than 0 and more than just Edna. So I'm going to throw my hat in at 3. 2 other people have died, but I don't know who they would be.
9.
9 characters have died, really?
I'll give you them. Smithers Senior.
Okay.
These are sort of, again, characters that some sort of impact or like recurring in some way. Smithers Senior, not really, but you saw it in a flashback. Amber Simpson, the Vegas wife.
Yeah, I know Homer's mum.
Yes, Mona.
And we got that reference to Sideshow Mel's dad.
Oh, yes, I didn't count him, though, because these are just sort of characters we know of or have seen. Snowball 2.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They killed, and now I think they're on Snowball 5 now.
Really?
I think the Snowball 2 got hit by Dr. Hibbert, I think, and then within that episode she got like 4 more cats and then settled on one that looked exactly like Snowball 2, which happens once more on this list as well. Yeah, Smithers Senior, Snowball 2, Amber, Mona, Fat Tony.
Really?
Fat Tony died, and then they brought in his cousin Fit Tony.
Oh, yeah.
And by the end of the episode, he was fat. So, again, that counts but doesn't. Mrs. Glick, the old lady who sort of lives around, you see her talking to Maude a couple of times. Edna, Krusty's dad, the rabbi.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one I wrote was Sebastian Cobb, who is the guy from the monorail episode with the glasses. Like the wacky guy that Marge speaks to, who knows a lot about monorails. They brought him back and he got hit by a monorail, I think.
Oh, how fitting.
So, yeah, 9.
Really? Wow. That's interesting. There's a lot, but Maude's still the most high profile and most likely to come back.
Yeah, the Fat Tony and the Snowball ones are a bit of a cheat, but it still counts because they didn't technically bring the character. Whereas Dr. Nick, Marvin Monroe, apparently they've done this with Mrs. Glick recently as well, actually, that she was in like an episode like a week or 2 ago and said that she faked her death, which I don't really get because she's not an important enough character. Similar with Marvin Monroe, they brought him back and said that he was just really sick, but there was no need to bring him back. Didn't really achieve anything.
But it does leave that window open just a slightly ajar for a Maude comeback.
Yes. And did you say a diary?
Yes, I would love a Maude Christmas diary if one was there in the bag.
Yes, there is one here. I will begin to read it now.
Merry Christmas diary. It's Christmas Eve anyways. I'm just decorating the tree and wrapping the last couple of gifts and my special Christmas sugarless no gingerbread men are in the oven to take around and deliver to the neighbours, except for next door. But Ned and Todd are out shopping at the minute, buying some stuff, and I saw that guy next door, that Homer guy, putting up his decorations and doing a really bad job earlier, so I just shut the blinds and me and Rod are gonna seal Christmas cards together and walk around the neighbourhood and deliver them, but at a separate time to when we take the biscuits. I'm excited for Christmas. This is our first Christmas without my sweet aunt, Tatiana, and we will be thinking of her whilst we eat her favourite meat, various meats. And all in all, it's going to be a good day. I've asked for a pair of shoes and a DVD, which stands for Divine Value Deal, which will get me some money off when I go and buy some more hook rugs. Yeah, Merry Christmas. I hope Jesus and baby Jesus have a nice day as well, and God, all the best. Maude.
Well, that was a delightful one. We got a little bit of a glimpse into, how she does a little bit for the neighborhood, taking some cookies, taking some cards. And if I lived around there, I'd be quite happy, looking forward to Rod and Maude coming round with cards and cookies. And it's interesting she's taking Rod and not Todd. Everyone seems to suggest that Todd's the one that gets more action adventure than Rod, but maybe Maude's got a little soft spot for Roddington.
I believe Todd was busy with Ned at the mall. I believe, if I'm correct, that this was based around that very first Simpsons episode.
Okay, so they're over there at the mall while those chaps are off doing other Christmassy business. And we learn a shocking revelation that the last aunt that we know of, assuming that she's not on Frank's side, assuming she's on her mother's side, Aunt Tatiana, rest in peace, with her various meats. So all in all, a delightful little diary there. And unfortunately, though, we're still in Stamp's shed. We can hear the rave going on next door. It's now getting pretty dark out there, and I can smell the egg. I don't know if it's about to crack, but look, someone's here.
Who?
Knock, knock, knock.
Hello, everybody. Look, it's that robot and those goblins and that Rod.
Come in first, hobgoblins, because you're sentient and you can feel the cold more. And an animate carbon Todd. Come in.
Thanks.
We've not got out because we're shepherds.
Okay, that's all right. I wouldn't ask for anything.
You know what, let us in and come here. This place is effing full of stuff. I can't move for out in here. What's that egg? What you've got? Where'd you get that from?
Find it, don't touch it.
I won't touch it. I wasn't even going for.
I can see you be still edging towards it.
I just won't put my hands on it. I won't crack it or not.
No, I'm Rod, the other goblin. Come here, Todd. I'll look after him. Thanks, Rod.
Let's just sit quietly in corner.
Yeah, it's freezing. Now about the robot and the calculator.
Come on,
Can
come
I
in.
also?
Hobo Robo, come in and bring your calculator and the calculator's battery.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Oh, H Robot, what have you got there? Is that a rusty child's bike frame?
Yes, it is. It's just for you and the baby egg. And my calculator also brought weeds and carrier bags.
Bleep, 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 bleep. Oh, thanks, Dave. That's just what I needed, a handful of weeds and some old carrier bags. I'll use them. I'll use the weeds to stuff up the cracks to keep the cold out, and I'll use the carrier bags to put some of these old washers and nuts and bolts in so that they're out way and we have somewhere to sit down. But what's your battery got there?
I brought you a starburst. It's called open wrapper from one of those that you can use as a blanket.
Battery, that's far too small for me.
I can use it as a blanket.
Okay, you do that then.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, it looks like...
Oh, the egg's beginning to hatch.
Well, the goblins look like they brought something as well, actually. What have you brought, goblins? I'm Rod, the goblin. We brought rat meat.
Oh yeah, I got rat meat for everyone. It's cold, but it's chewy and delicious and nutritious.
And that Todd Rodman.
I'm not eating bloody rat meat. I'm full of rat meat. I want to know what's inside that egg. I want some delicious yolk running down me. Delicious yolk running down me Roddy chin.
Well, it also looks like Todd Rodman brought a gift but didn't get the memo properly, as he seems to have brought Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh, look, it's hatching.
Oh, look, it's hatching. What's inside?
Crack, crack, crack.
Crack, crack, crack. Oh, my goodness. It's a semi-melted, inanimate, sugar-free chocolate baby Jesus Maude.
It's truly a Yuletide miracle.
It's truly a Yuletide
miracle.
So here we are then in the shed, but in the end it all turned out well. In the end, I mean, we're all homeless, and if we get caught by Stamp, we'll be thrown out onto the cold January streets. But who knows? What with us being backed by a multi-billion-dollar corporation, I think we'll all be okay. And hopefully, fingers crossed, when 2021 comes around, we'll all have a new building rebuilt bigger and better than ever.
Hopefully.
Thank God for both multi-billionaire conglomerates and businesses.
Yes. Thank you to our financial aids.
So shall we finish with a song?
Yes.
Who's going first?
Me, Pixin MBN Proud.
Simpsons wrapped up in warm passing Flanders window.
Fake pony.
On a unicycle with a pony that's real.
Well-meaning wave.
Robotically turns and waves from the window.
Fake skiing.
Oh yeah, we'll show 'em. Oh yeah, we'll show 'em.
Kill Gil Volumes 1 and 2.
Neutral faces, Christmas opening.
Mr. Gums Murphy.
Beautiful full-length pink and mauve purple winter coat.
Mo Face.
Sat sadly on the sofa.
Worthy F is Rod.
With a Maudey, Roddy, Toddy, Christmas and a Neddy, Teddy, Neddy, 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 New Year.
Aerosmith Peephole.
Decorating the tree with an Aerosmith peephole. Wonderful live bunker.
Todd without question.
Smiling, he's looking on, holding him like a small baby child.
Pity and intrigue.
Big baby Jesus, I can't wait.
Chocolate Maude Egg.
Inanimate chocolate Maude Egg.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The end.
The end. Jang, 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 jingle bells, jingle bells, jang, 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 jingle bells.
Yeah, good job. Good Christmas.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
I'm going to have to pause here and break kayfabe because I'm going to have to give you some setup for this part of the nativity play.
Yes, I did make some notes.
You did?
Yes.
On top of mine? So you okay to go?
Yes, I believe so.
So basically, we're outside MFIDBAMDM that's been mysteriously burned to the ground in the toaster tithing pool fires. We're sitting in the cold Wigan by the bins of Netto with only this egg what we found in the embers. But where shall we sleep tonight? We set out with the egg. We knock on Stamp's door. Stamp tells us to F off. We get to the end of the road and begin to cry, and the stamp man comes and calls and says, you can sleep in the shed if you don't tell Stamp. It's just got old bread making machines and homemade weapons in it. And then we decide to go and sleep in Stamp's shed. So basically this part just has you and me in it, but the next part is going to get a lot of characters. Did you have notes to add to that, or are you just going to improvise on top of that?
I'm just going to improvise. I've just basically written my responses to those situations.
Exactly, okay. And we have to stop here for a minute while I tell you the next little bit. So the Hobo Robo is fishing for tin cans in the Dougie. Dave and Battery are looking at the sky. They point to the sky excitedly. What is that shed-shaped star? It has an address written on it. It says Stamp's house. All right, do you want to be Hobo Robo, Dave, or Battery?
I'll be Hobo Robo.
All right, and action. And at that point, we have to cut again because we cut onto the hills where Rod and Todd hobgoblin. Maybe I should leave this bit in. Should I leave this bit in?
Why not?
Maybe I'll do it as I'll put all of this stuff at the end. All bonus the explanation can go at the end as a bonus content. Rod
you
and
could
Todd
put 14 to 15 minutes of one clapping sound and then put it after that.
I tell you like that, Yanis Xenakis would love that. So would Steve Reich.
Yes.
Anyway, Rod and Todd hobgoblin with animate carbon Todd are in the bins of Pound Smasher, trying to round up some rats using a cat's head on a stick. It is not going well. They get a text from Brendan and Nathan saying we are in Stamp's shed. They head over, followed by 6 rats. Would you rather be Rod, Todd, or Todd?
I'll be Rod.
And action.